If you really want your game to succeed and grow a player base, unfortunately, and I'm going to say unfortunately because, I've often said that I think ranked is like an awful way to play a game. But the problem is that this is how we play fighting games. Ranked is how we play fighting games. And when I posted up this tweet where I basically just said that, one of the best ways to grow your scene is to always have people on ranked, like to have people to run into on ranked. And the craziest thing about it is I got so many replies from people being like, yes, yes, yes. I recently switched to playing only ranked. In all the other modes, I found it difficult to find variety and players around my level. Yeah, that's the thing, is like ranked also tries to filter your opponents at your level, right? You're not just always going to get paired with somebody who's going to kick your ass. However, if there's not a lot of players out there, yes, you will just get your ass kicked because you will get paired up with like ridiculous players. It's definitely happened to me, like when I was playing, I think it was Under Night. Like I was playing Under Night and I'm like, let's get back into Under Night. And then I'm like, like bronze rank or silver rank, and I run into somebody who was like super high ranked, and it's just like, right. So there are people who just don't play ranked, Gibby. It's very, very different than that these days. Let me see here. I retweet too much here. I wish there was a way that you could filter your timeline so that you were the only person, that you would only see your own tweet. What I tweeted was, some people may not like hearing this. So let's do this over here. Like this. Some people may not like hearing this, but perhaps the biggest appeal of a fighting game for newer players is having lots of people to fight in ranked plus good netcode. If we talk about games that deserve more love and should have more players, people have got to queue up. Communities need to queue up during peak hours of their region so casuals and new players can find matches. Players of all skill levels need to queue up to be able to be matched up with. Discord fighters are very hard to grow a scene for. And in case you don't know what I mean by Discord fighters, a lot of fighting games out there where you have to go to a Discord and go, hey, does anybody want to play a match? And you just hope somebody sees it and hope somebody is willing to play you. I've tried to turn my Discord into a generic hub for people to find matches, but I just don't have enough people on my Discord. And I don't know, outside of like just streaming more and being more consistent here, like there's no way I'm going to be able to get more people into my Discord, like just randomly. It's going to have to happen organically as I build up a bigger and bigger community. Yeah, I mean, you say SNK community equals Discord, but that's also all anime games. Like every anime game ends up being this way. If you're a Blaze Blue player, a Grand Blue player, even Guilty Gear Strive, because I've heard the netcode is so messed up on that game right now, I really do think that this is a big factor, right? So I say we play video games, which means we're most likely introverted or shy. Having to contact people on Discord to play is such a major roadblock for many new people. It is easy to do, but trust me, it's just enough of an extra step that makes many players feel like it's not worth it, right? And this is the key factor right here. And if you actually look at like a lot of the responses, this is why crossplay is an absolute necessity, 100%. As a newer fighting game player this year, and I've tried mostly every fighting game, but Street Fighter has been my favorite, and a big part of that is because I know I can queue up fast and keep improving, right? This is so important here. You can kind of just be anonymous and queue up, whereas in Discord you feel exposed. Like you don't want people to know you as a person that they can access anytime in the Discord, right? That's the thing. If you're like, hey, anybody want to play me? You know, if somebody else is like, yeah, but then like if you play, like if the guy gets really mad at you, they can just like on Discord just be like, you jerk, how did you, like there's certain factor of anonymity and not having to expose yourself. And this is about one player content, which of course is true. Again, I want more single player content, different story, whole different discussion over here. It's still an issue when you're vastly outperforming a casual player. What to do, softly throw. Yeah, if you are the player that's out there that, you know, runs into weaker players, like how do you fight them? Do you just, you're going to learn today, son, or try to like encourage them? But that's why if you need rank to succeed, people of all levels need to jump on at the same time. If it's just the experts and the pros jumping on, that's not going to help the lower levels. Having someone at your level to just randomly run into is super important. Right, matchmaking is necessary for finding opponents, but is not for finding friends, and friends are more important for growing a community, says Ryo Ayanami. Like, I get it. You are absolutely 100% correct. And 90% of the people who play fighting games online won't do that. That's just not what they're interested in. And we'll get to that a little bit more as we scroll down through some of these responses. You're right, and I've been talking about this forever. Fighting games are a social genre. You have to have friends to be able to play. It makes it better, etc. But, again, a lot of people are not looking for that. Crossplay is absolutely important, and all the other fighting games nominated in the Game Awards for their accessibility and their design work. How do you feel about games nominated for Best Fighting Game category this year? I haven't looked at that yet, Casey Fusion, so I'll take a look in a little bit. A lot of games are spam fest. So someone replied to me, Fatal Fury equals spam fest. And I said, a lot of games are spam fest. But why should that be seen as a negative? MVC2 is one of the longest lasting, most revered games ever. And that game is all about filling the screen with as much shit as possible. It's silly to hold all games to one standard. Another thing for me personally is finding players my level. I took advantage of when DOA 6 went on sale years after release, which attracted new players. I was able to learn the game easier. And I say, yeah, that's one of the benefits of having lots of player on ranked. That means there are also more likely to be players of your skill level to challenge. Otherwise, you are a novice and then on ranked run into Evo top 8 player extraordinaire and get whopped. Okay, well, there's a real obstacle in that it's insanely hard to get someone into a fighting game that isn't already willing to wade through their salt. But you're missing costumes. And costumes for sure we need. Add crossplay for sure. Yep, that's how every other successful multiplayer game works. Takes seconds to find a match in Call of Duty, and it's been like that since 2007. It's kind of insane that Street Fighter 6 is the first fighting game to nail that. And even then, I think there's some things it could do better. Yeah, and it's not that Street Fighter 6 has figured out a way to nail that. It's just that there are more people playing Street Fighter 6 than most fighting games. Street Fighter 6 is super, super popular. And so, like I said, it's a different kind of thing, right? Like, the magic formula Street Fighter 6 figured out was, hey, let's have good net play and let's make the game fun. You know, stuff like that, right? Crossplay including Switch 2 and PlayStation 4. Yeah, exactly. It's so good. Exactly. I always joke that the most expensive thing in fighting games is finding friends to play and grow with. In many older titles, you can barely find matches online. And even if you do, the netcode is rough. Hang on a second. Okay, there we go. SF6 nailed it. Buy the game, queue up, and just enjoy playing. And this is the important part. So what a lot of people say, like, oh, you need to make friends, like I said, what Rio said is 100% true. I completely agree. However, I don't think that's how 90% of the people are playing fighting games online. It's just how it comes out to. Because one of the biggest bases of players is this. Yeah, after a day of work, all we want to do is turn on the game, set ranked matches, and play. Nobody wants to be dependent on being lucky enough to have an online friend to play with. And this is the most important thing. This is the audience that a lot of people aren't thinking of, especially all of us on Twitter in the FTC. Because we live a certain life. We live and breathe this. If you're on Twitter and if you're watching my stream and everything like that, like, you're already there, and like you're gonna jump in and be like, I'll come to a Discord and find some opponents, right? But this, sometimes we don't want to socialize after work. Exactly. And you're just tired. And like I said, the anonymity is great, right? And sometimes it's like, oh God, I finally got the baby to bed. My wife is going to sleep. I'm going to play now. It's 1 a.m. And what do you don't want to call your friends at 1 a.m. and be like, hey, you up? Let's play. You know, like, you just, I'm just going to jump on Ranked and play right now. And so, like, you know, Ranked is a matter of convenience. Ranked is a matter of convenience. What it does is it matches you up with somebody who you can assume is at your level without having to do any work. And you can just play. And as a person who suffers from ADHD, and I know a lot of other people, you know, there's always going to be ADHD to a varying degree, but any roadblock you put in front of the ability for you to play the thing that you play the way you want to play it will be enough to make you just go, and go do something else, right? Like, that's just going to happen. You're not going to, like, if I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, okay, I got to jump on Discord, message, see if anybody responds. Okay, so you message it, and you sit there, and you start surfing the web or playing a different game, and then you just forget you even put the message in the Discord in the first place, or someone does say, hey, I'll play, like 15 minutes later, and by then you're just like, I'm not in the mood anymore. You're done, right? Like, you're just mentally done. If you have any sort of roadblock, you won't play. And a lot of the times, Discord fighters end up becoming self-fulfilling prophecies. A lot of people will be like, I can't find anyone online. Oh, it's a Discord fighter. I'll go to Discord. And then you're not available for anyone to find, right? And that's a problem. The player base is not going to grow because the people that you're trying to get to grow a scene, you're not trying to find the sweaty people who want to level up and actually improve, right? To grow a scene, you need to find the people who are just having enough fun to kick it and play and to keep playing. And, you know, a lot of the times that's what leads to growth. They just keep playing, they just keep getting better, they're not thinking about it. Or at some point in time, they might just be like, you know what, I'm actually not doing too bad. Or like, you know what, like, I really like this game. I want to see if I can get better. Like, let's actually delve deeper into this. The problem is you can't target the people. And again, I've said this a million times because this is how my commentary works. We shouldn't be targeting the people who are here already. We shouldn't be expecting the people that we want to get into the scene to be able to think like we do and play the game the way we do. So many people just want to play. So many people just want to play, not think. They don't want to work at that. Like, they want to play the game. They're willing to work at the game, but they don't want to work at getting a match, right? So if there's no ranked, nobody can get a match. And so what he says here, or what they say here, I'm not going to make any assumptions here. All we want to do is turn on the game, set ranked matches, and play, right? And so, you know, and then the next tweet, yes, the average new player just wants to open the game, queue, and find different people to play. Before he knows about Discord Fighter, he needs to like the game. The difference of skill of a player in queue and on Discord is huge. Exactly. Which is why in the matchmaking that I have on my Discord, I split people by skill level, right? Like that was my intention, because I don't want people to, you know, have to fight someone significantly stronger than they are. Right, exactly. If the player base is that small, says Forrest in the chat, everyone will be the same rank anyway, just going by numbers because there aren't many. Yeah, most of the people who are playing are going to be pretty good if they're still playing ranked at this point for a lot of these games, right? Someone says, you really experienced going from a Discord fire to playing Street Fighter 6 where you can queue up for a match, no problem, yeah? This person says, no console for release for 2xKO is killing the game. I mean, they need to get this out because one of the hardest things about video games is that we are splintered, right? This is another thing that hurts our scene and why crossplay is so important because, you know, if you're a moviegoer, if you rent it on Netflix or if you go to the theater, if you rent it on Amazon, right? Like on Amazon Video or whatever like that, so you don't have to wait till it shows up for free on a streaming service, or if you buy a Blu-ray, or if you wait till it streams out on free, or you went to the theater to go see it, or you just went to a friend, you're all watching the same movie and you can discuss the same movie together as a group. When you are playing a video game you want to play online, if you have different platforms that don't have crossplay, you can't play with each other. And that is a huge problem. And it says, you are right. I started playing fighting games 2 months ago, and I first tried to play Street Fighter 6 because I find a match on ranked. Then tried Guilty Gear, but didn't understand why I can't find players, so I quit. And I'm only playing Street Fighter 6 because it's easy to find players. And see, like, these are not the people that you're going to be able to say, well, you should go to Discord because it'll make it better if you find friends to play. Like, this is not their goal. Again, we have to take into account what the goals of different people are. And that's one of the hardest things because if you're tweeting about fighting games on Twitter, you have a different goal than all of these people. Okay, and people don't address this audience a lot. And so like it's just like you can't sit there and talk about what it takes to become a strong player because a lot of these people couldn't give a crap if they became a strong player. They like fighting games, they like Street Fighter, they just want to play, they just want to have fun. And so jumping on ranked and be able to find matches is super important. It is absolutely one of the most crucial things about getting people to play your fighting game. This is one of the main reasons why I play Street Fighter. I don't have to go through Discord to facilitate matches. I work overnights and play during my downtime. If ranked doesn't have people to play, I find something that does. And see, here's a different audience. Somebody who has an hour break and decides to go play. You don't want to go to Discord and be like, and waste your time going, hey guys, anybody want to play? And waiting for like 5 minutes, 15 minutes for someone to respond. Like you just like, I have a break, I can play. Jump online, play, cool, I'm done, go, you know? Yeah, I mean, you say it's like the rich getting richer with Street Fighter 6 being the rich, but that's my whole point of my original tweet. So, well, the thing about it is, again, it's like, but we're talking about ranked here, right? The reason why ranked is important is not because people want to get better. It's because you are more likely to have a chance to be paired up with somebody who is at your level. That's the most important thing about ranked, right? So that's why ranked is an important mode and why ranked has to have a lot of people on it. And a really good single player, yes. See, like this guy's just like, I just want to play, you know, Hunter, and then Impact, please. Availability of being able to play someone from across the country with good net play. I remember when we talked about how Japan can just take a train ride to play someone from another area and how top players can just play in the same arcade. We have that nowadays. But again, like, we need that availability of players. 100%. It's so hard to get into small fighting game as a new player if your only human options are people way better than you. No doubt, a game can be as awesome as people want to say, but if I can't find a match at low mid level, and if Discord matches don't work out, then what's even the point? City of the Wolves, good netcode, good matchmaking, next to no players in ranked, and pretty much a Discord fire where I am. Makes it really hard to play it when I can't just queue up and have to ping a Discord to hopefully get games. Again, as a person who is starting to understand my own ADHD and, being the kind of person that now believes that everybody has ADHD, OCD, autism, whatever, to varying degrees, any little extra step will make you not want to do it. That's it. Yeah, but playing against the computer is useless. Oh my God. Playing against the computer is it's just annoying because you just try. Well, like I said, unfortunately, Street Fighter 6 has a really good computer. When I played City of the Wolves computer, I found like a hack, like an exploit, right? I just found an exploit that I could just use to blow up the computer. It might have been the same one that Maximilian was using, and I just stole it from him. But that's the thing, is like you're finding exploits, and that's not necessarily fun, right? I just want to hop and go. I just want to hop and go. I don't want to go to Discord or sometimes even deal with people. Again, that's the whole point of my third tweet in this thread, which I was like, we're all introverts, okay? We're playing video games. We're all introverts. We just came back from work or running errands and dealing with other humans. We don't want to deal directly with other humans. Right? I just want to sit down and play, kind of things. Fighting games also should really be more clear that ranked will give you better matches despite being the serious mode. If you want to get 99-0'd in a set versus a dude in the arcade, that's hub. Despite the scary name, that's not ranked. Yeah, I mean, I get what he's saying. Basically, what I was saying is that you get matched up with people who are your skill level. Like, the game itself will take care of that part for you, and that's really important, that you don't have to go out of the way to find somebody at your strength. Because you could also just be like, anybody want to play? And someone's like, I'll play, and you go play, and you just find out, like, this is, like, actually, like, goes the combo breaker and makes it out a pools level player, and you're just getting stomped, and you're just like, I'm not having any fun. You're like, obviously, you're not mad at the guy. You're like, hey, you're a little too good for me, but thanks, I appreciate you, blah, blah, blah. But now you just lost like 30 minutes, right? You lost 30 minutes to something that you didn't enjoy necessarily. This person just responded to me, facts. If I notice that I'm fighting the same people too often, I just stop playing. 2xKO, that was already happening on Diamond. Maybe it's because of lobbies, I don't know. Another person says, City of the Wolves is a Discord fighter for Europe. I would love to play if people played. So again, like, you could see how many people are just, like, they don't want to do the Discord fighter thing. I agree, but then again, having a good deal of casual things to do is also appealing, yeah. So we're talking about, one player mode, like I said, which is a different conversation, which is a completely different conversation. I recently started teaching my friend how to play Street Fighter 6, but to be honest, watching beginners play is really torture. My friend and I couldn't think of any way to teach him. My friend's level is higher than mine, which is considered good among casual players. That's right, as a beginner, you don't want to get thrashed all day. Having more people to play gives you a chance to play against a wider variety of skill levels. Yes, the online needs to be as smooth as possible. If a fighting game has crossplay, rollback, and ranked mode, the best thing the community can do is just use the freaking ranked mode if you want new people to try the game. This is also a big problem when you don't live in a region with a large player base. I live in South Africa, and the ranked queue is so thin for the most popular games, basically only Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8, that sometimes I can't even find matches and can't grow and rank up. Hey, thank you for redeeming those coins in the channel. Let's see. What are good examples of single-player content for casuals? Richard, I know that this is very significant for you because, obviously you'd like to know what kind of single-player content to put into stuff. Again, I mean, I know you've heard me talk about tutorials. I know you've heard me talk about tutorials a billion times. What's up, the Nammies? I'm guessing that's the Nammies and not then Ammies. World Tour is basically one of the best ones, but also a really good story mode. So Mortal Kombat 9 and X, I think are good examples. I know 11 was a little, I think X was a little lacking. I know MK1 is like missing a lot of stuff. I know Injustice, like my friend put like hundreds of hours into Injustice 2 and he never played online. He literally never played online. So, you know, that was a good way. That's a good single player content. But like I said, I think tutorials in fighting games are all awful, although you have to have them so that, see, the thing about it is we have to understand that everybody learns differently, that everybody's brain is different. And so we can't force everybody to learn the same way, right? Some people say, I hate training mode. I get bored in training mode. They learn differently than the people like me who will spend more time in training mode than in actual matches because I can't stop discovering things and testing things and I just get fascinated by this, right? So in the same way, if you make a fighting game, you have to have the tutorials where it's literally, this is how the system works. This is how you do this. And a lot of people are going to play it and be like, interesting. And then when they're like, oh, what did this do? They'll go back to the tutorial and try to look it up. But there are people out there who will only do the tutorials to get the trophy or whatever, like, achievement. And otherwise, they just don't care or they just might not do it at all, right? Like, so they may never actually do it. But you've got to help those people learn as well. So that's why you have the really intelligent mini games. Again, break the targets, the home run contest, as well as board the platforms, although they took away board the platforms, and I'm not sure why they took that away from Melee. But if you go to Melee, the home run contest and break the targets has always been my favorite set of tutorials because they don't know that it's a tutorial. They're just doing stuff. And again, if you think about the way that those differentiate the skill, it's so clever how Nintendo, aka Sakurai, developed them. Because home run contest was about doing damage and was only about doing damage. You basically didn't move. You were just on the platform. But it also taught you about the direction you were hitting things, right? Even if it got to the point where you knew there were some moves you could never use because it would launch things, you learned that those were the moves that launched things, right? So like now you kind of had this idea like, oh, I want to do damage, but I don't want to knock them away, so I'm not going to do these moves. And then when you play in a real match, you're like, oh, well, I want to do damage, or I do want to knock them away. So there was that move that it taught you about sweet spots because you would hit with the bat, and sometimes it would go crazy, and sometimes it would just kind of thud out, or sometimes it wouldn't. You'd be like, what? And you realize that you had sweet spots all of a sudden, and you had to keep the thing on the platform, so you were learning how to juggle and chase after things and manipulate and all this stuff. Now, when you go to the break the targets, all of a sudden, it's all about movement and how to use your moves. They would put targets somewhere, and you'd be like, what? How do I even hit that? And then you remember that, you know, Pikachu's little electric thing will crawl on ledges. And so you go, Pika, and it just like crawls around the edge and eventually hits the target. Or just because you want the lightning to strike Pikachu doesn't mean you can't hit something at the top of the screen that's unreachable. So you just learn to do that. Like the one that took me a while to even get was the target that was behind a wall. And I was like, oh, just smash A, just hits it because you can get past wall. But like, all of a sudden, all it was doing was teaching you how to use your moves and how to move as efficiently as possible because you had to get everywhere. But you know what else? You know what it didn't test you? Was damage. Now, every target can get blown up by a simple nair, a simple jab on the ground. I could Falcon punch it if I really wanted to. You know, like everything destroyed the target. So they took away everything about trying to do damage in this mode. So what it was doing was isolating your movement and the variety aspect of your special moves. Whereas home run contest was all about, I want to do damage. And that whole concept of damage, 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 now I launch you, and now you get to die. in the next version, I think Smash Wii U or Smash Wii, I think it was Smash on the Wii. They added the barriers to the home run contest. So you could just launch it and it just goes dun, 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 and the barriers only disappear right before the timer runs out. I'll tell you right now, as soon as that happened, I was like, this is dumb. And I just didn't even try anymore. You've ruined home run contest completely for me. Like, you've ruined the aspect of it that I thought was super fun and also super educational. However, what they did do was they added the Subspace Emissary, which I don't think gets enough credit for how good that mode was. Because what that mode did was it forced you to use a lot of other characters, and it also sort of forced a favorite upon you. Because you would learn a bunch of characters, and then you would get to a stage where you could pick between a bunch of characters, and you're like, I can't do anything with these. I'm going to pick this character because, like, this character works for me. And you're just thinking about it in terms of, like, I'm going to pick this character to beat this level. But what you're actually doing is finding affinity with a character. And so when you go to the matches after playing Subspace Emissary, you're going to be like, I felt really comfortable using Pikachu, or I felt really comfortable using Mario. And so that's how you're going to go into it, right? So the beautiful thing about Subspace Emissary is that it helped you choose a character and learn what all the characters can do. You know, the environment was a little weirder, obviously, because, you know, sometimes you're fighting bosses, sometimes you're just fighting, you know, whatever. But that was kind of the idea. So was the break the targets for? No. They had a break the targets for every character. Every character had a different break the targets. And the best thing about it is you can actually go into, like, there's some great documentaries about that because, like, people have been trying to, because you also have a total. So in the break that, again, like, their motivation factor that Nintendo came up with, that Sakurai came up with, was incredible. Because for both break the targets and for the home run contest, it kept your record for every character. Every character had, like, oh, this is the farthest, like, 5,689 feet. But when you were in the menu to select the character that you wanted to do, at the top there was total. And it totaled the distance of all of your characters. And on Break the Targets, it totaled the time on all of your characters. And so what that made you want to do is actually play like all of them. And then you'd be like, oh God, but I'm so much better now. And I beat that one a long time ago. And look, it took me 3 minutes. There's no way it'll take me 3 minutes now. So you go in there and you do it again. And now you're down to, like, 36 seconds. And you're like, yeah, see, I knew I could do better. People are just going to be like, no, I can do better. Like, automatically. And there's actually a documentary that people have been trying to lower the target's total in terms of, like, theoretical virtual total if you add up everybody's fastest times. And recently, for Melee, it had been stuck at a certain amount for a long time. And I think it was like 10 or 15 years later, like, suddenly someone tried to do something and they found, like, some crazy thing that was like, whoa, this shaves, like, and then they all just started. And then one person was like, I'm putting a bounty. Whoever can shave this much time off of this, like, I'm giving you money. Like, and there was this whole movement, like, within the last, like, 3 or 4 years or something. And they just chucked away at that total time and, like, made some crazy advances like you had never seen before. So it was great. Yeah. And it's like I said, being like Amazing Chess says, it was being a time trial is what made it so great because you felt like you could do better. Right? Nowadays, you could have a leaderboard. The problem with the leaderboard is that you can fake things, you can hack things, and that's always a problem. But Nintendo is usually pretty diligent about that. So I don't know if they would, be more diligent about killing hacked times and stuff like that. But the other thing too is that you could also have it so that you could replay things, right? The hardest thing about that is if you are bad at the game and then you replay, like, the highest time to see what they're doing, and then you're like, I can't get that good. And, like, that can be a discouragement factor. I know in previous Mario Karts before, they've had it so that you can only download the ghost of people that are close to your time. Maybe do something like that. You can only watch the replay of the players that are kind of around you, right? So you can pick up on small things to get better and such. But the whole point is that the time is there, and even without the internet, like when we were playing Melee, this was a bragging point. My friend would always be like, I got 2,364 feet with Donkey Kong. And I go look at mine, I'm at like 1,700. I'm like, dang it, no, how did he do that? And we wouldn't tell each other. And so like, I'd just be like, no, I've got to find out how to do that. I've got to beat him. I've got to beat him. You know, like even within your own like circle, like just people just casually talking about it, you create this impetus to actually want to keep doing better, right? And oh, what's up, spoiled princess? Hope your fighting game learning has been going well. And also Jamal D and Angelo Pitts says, greetings, sir. I had a thought on social media called Mind Games that a way to improve tutorials is to gamify them in a way that is fun, a game within a game, if that makes sense. It's exactly what I'm talking about right now, Jamal D. It's exactly what I'm talking about. Why I love Break the Targets, why I love the home run contest in Melee specifically. Because even in the later games, the Break the Targets became bad because I think they just created one course for everybody or something like that, because creating a different course for every character takes a lot of time. In the latest Smash, you know, you could create your own courses, and there's like YouTube series where people try to run through these courses and try to figure out how to beat them. Like, it's not official. Like, you're supposed to get to this spot on the map, and you just know that if you get there, you're done. Like, the game is not going to reward you or anything because there was no system built into that. But I know Olaf kept showing me these videos of like these twin brothers or something like that. Like, I think they're both Austrian, and they just sit there and they go into separate rooms and play the same stage and race to see who can finish it. And then they gather afterwards and see how they do it. But again, these stages are designed to be super hard. So the things that you learn what to do with your character, you have to be like expert. Designing that many Break the Target stages for that many characters, like Jesus Christ, you'd have to have like so many people working on these, especially if you want to try to make sure that they're all like similar difficulty levels and stuff. Don't use AI to do goddamn shit, okay? My position on that, Forrest. Fuck AI in this area, in this regard. No interest in that whatsoever. It would feel really shitty. Like, you have to design it in a way, because even though they aren't designed to be sped run, you can tell that they created them in a way that there was a good flow. Like, if you knew what you were doing, there's a really interesting flow to the stage, right? If you just like create it so that it's like, oh, I'll put a requirement for this here. You're going to play it, and it's just going to like, you're just going to like, there's no good path. Like, this one just dead end, come back, dead end, come back, dead end, come back. Like, it's just not going to work, right? So it's very important to have a human designing these things to understand. Like Miyamoto, me and my friend used to always talk about this. Miyamoto always had a philosophy that, you know, if you are playing a stage of a game, let's say, that has an elevator that goes up and down, and when it goes up, you have to stop and wait, and it comes down and you jump on it and it goes up. Miyamoto always had the philosophy that if you did it as fast as you possibly can, the elevator should be there. Right? So, in other words, if I just held forward and like the run button and I avoided everything, the elevator should be there when I get there. Like, that's a game design philosophy of Miyamoto that I think is 100% spot on, right? Because if you play as fast as possible, you get there and the elevator's just leaving, and you have to wait for the whole thing. Like, that sucks, right? When you design these levels, you have to be smart about designing these levels so it flows and it feels right. And so again, yeah, let me just shift things back to the correct direction. Having the targets and the home run contests are for free, because I learned so much playing those modes. I learned a lot about play. I even learned how to short hop because Yoshi's down A in the air is the thing, you know, where he just like kicks the whole jump. But if you did a regular jump, you have to go woo, da da da, woo. But if you actually short hop, you go and it wouldn't knock the bag anywhere. So I learned to short hop into down A as fast as I can multiple times in a row just to up the damage on the home run contest. And it probably wasn't even the best way to do it, but like it's something that worked, and so you just try it. So you just try it and you end up learning about the game without realizing you're learning. It's not the frustration factor. Now you're just like, I want to get good at this because I want to get this score higher. And it's just such an intelligent way to design things. So like if I was going to do one for Street Fighter, which I pitched to Capcom USA, so they probably didn't have that much say in what went into it. But for Street Fighter V, before the game came out, I was like, here is my ideas for mini games that you can put in the game. Like, this is something that would really help. The whole point was that there would be some things that you had to destroy that was based on damage, some things you had to destroy that was based on number of hits, some things that would be random, whether it would be invincible or not, that would teach you hit confirms. Like, you wouldn't even realize you're learning hit confirms if it's like, you need to hit it 3 times, right? So you would just go, you know, like short, short. Oh, if it's invincible, short, short. Okay, I'm not going to keep going. And then you walk back up and you go short, short. And then if you are hitting it, then you go for the last short. Things would come in from the ground. So you know how to low block, you know, stuff like that, right? Or even have it so that like, you know, you have like a single hit target, but you have to jump over something. So you jump over it and then you can land, turn around and punch the item. Or if you realize that cross-ups exist, you jump over, hit the cross-up button and it hits it and you can just keep going. And you don't even have to worry about turning around and hitting that item anymore. You know what I mean? Like setting up a stage for every character to work with their moves to solve these little funny problems that teaches people how to use their attacks, I think would be huge. Like Chun-Li should definitely have like a head stomp kind of thing that, you know, you want to do to make sure that you can, you know, beat something up, et cetera, et cetera. Like these are things that make people learn without them knowing that they're learning. I wrote the email before Street Fighter V came out. So again, I have been on this kick for God knows how long now. For 15 years, dude. Like for 15 years I've been preaching this crap to people. It's like, yes, this is what we need to do. 09ers was when Street Fighter 4 first came out. So, you know, probably about 12 years, 13 years, I've been preaching this to people that we've needed to do this and nobody's done it. Nobody's done it. Yeah, like having something be that every time something touches the ground again, it resets its health. And so every time well, I need to launch it. So now you try to find your launcher. So if you're Chun-Li, you're going to use your level 2 super and launch it. And you have to do a certain amount of damage to it. And so like you try to learn how to do this longer juggle combo on this item to actually break that target, right? Like if you just create all these different things with all these different ideas, you know, have the ability to try to break this thing with damage, but the problem is cannons are firing like cannonballs at you, or like things are being launched, you're like jumping or blocking and dodging, or you know, you learn how to hit something and like if something's over here and a bullet shoots at you, you know how to low forward the bullet and cancel into a fireball and still hit the thing a screen away. Like there's just a lot of really cool things you can do. And in my opinion, that's kind of what you have to teach people, because also this will teach people how to move with their characters. Like Street Fighter 6 would have been perfect because, you know, with the drive gauge, you'd be trying to drive rush everything. But if you just do that all day, you're just going to run out and burn yourself out. And all of a sudden you suck. So now you got to manage the drive gauge while you're doing the obstacle course. And now like Guitar Heroes, you know, Rock Band's, you know, crazy improv mode. Like you want to learn where to use it in the track and where to save it and where, you know, like there's just so much people could do. So how would you design a minigame that teaches reactions? I mean, you would just put reaction stuff in there. Like you would just be walking along and then something would just go and just like shoot at you, and then you try to block it at the last second, or something would just appear on the screen, just like all of a sudden. I mean, they have one. Literally, when Sagat came out, they added a reaction game to Street Fighter 6, where you sit there and like try to parry certain things, but then a log just comes in off the screen and you can only drive impact that one, and then they come fighting it. Like, they have something like that in the game already. And so like if you're actually playing like where you're just sitting there like trying to fight things, like I said, like trying to avoid these dumb obstacles while like, you know, you're just trying to do damage to this thing, like let's say, you know, it's just like every time you hit it, you knock it backwards and more things come in. And then occasionally, out of nowhere, like this log comes swinging in from off the screen. You know, there's a lot of ways you can do that, because what that means is that you're, you know, the problem with a lot of the drive impact training, like in training mode, is that you're prepared for it, right? Like, for example, in those scenarios where you're fighting it and maybe the log swings in, maybe sometimes when you fight it, the log never happens. Because the key to learning reactions to drive impacts is understanding the fact that it'll never happen. The reason why all that training mode stuff for me doesn't work is because I am so focused on probability. I can't stop thinking about probability. So when I play those training things, I'm always like, okay, it's done this 300 rows in a time. There's no way it'll do it a fourth time. And so my brain has just already accepted that it's going to do something else, right? The problem is that I am correct in that the drive impact will come eventually. It's going to come eventually when you set up the training mode to do something. So I can counter it every single time, or not very difficultly in those scenarios, because I know that it's coming. So I can leave my pinky over a button, or I can leave my fingers like in a ready position, or I can just keep so much of my brain in that direction. But when you're fighting somebody online, you can't keep half of your brain focused on drive impacts if the guy never drive impacts, because then you're just going to die to everything else. You can't sacrifice that much of your mental stack to pay attention to something that might never come, right? You have to understand that when you get pushed towards a corner, you're like, okay, now I have to think about it a little bit more, you know, like stuff like that. And so, you know, these training mode things don't necessarily work for me. And I know for a lot of other people out there, it's going to be the same. So whenever I do these training things, we're like, oh, just set the dummy to do like 7 of these random things. And I set those up and I sit there and I do them. And like, I'm the kind of person that can tell when I'm getting better at something. It's very weird. I'm very good at evaluating that. And when it comes to those things, even though I am actually countering those things in the training mode, I never feel like I'm getting better at it. I know that I'm cheating the system to some degree. I know I have a secret way of gaming it, right? A real guile for following the best commentator. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. But again, I'm gaming those situations. Whereas when you're fighting against another human being, like you can try to be like, I'm ready for drive impacts all you want. You might be fighting someone who forgot drive impacts exist. And they just don't even think about it themselves, right? Like you can't game that. You can't game another person's brain, which is exactly the core principle of why fighting games are so good, and why one of my number one axioms is you're fighting another human. So there has to be a very distinct difference between fighting a game's AI or probability, or fighting another human being. The reason why I keep saying it's a two-player game, because I'm emphasizing that the person you're fighting is a flawed human as well. And so you have to take advantage of the flaws. In a real situation, you're like, yeah, but like you could just counter the drive impact. Yeah, you could, but like maybe he's just not ready. Just try it. Like, you know, like this is the whole nature of fighting games. If you think that your opponent can counter everything you do, you're never going to do anything, and it's useless. So again, like those training mode exercises don't work for me. They just don't work for me because you can game them and you know exactly what to expect. One, because you programmed half the things into it. And two, you don't have the ability to set 50 different actions. Like the most you can set is like eight actions. Like you can record 8 different things and have them play at random. That's not enough. Not for me in any case. To make that work, I'd have to set it up so that there's like all these different actions and drive impact is set to the probability of 1 while everything else is set to the probability of 10 out of 10. That's how I'd have to learn it. And it's like, I need a whole bunch of things to do. Oh, thanks, A Real Gal. Appreciate it. Says that, thank you for all best memories in tournaments, especially in Street Fighter V. Flawed humans, unless they're James Chen. Oh God, I have the most flawed human ever. Holy crap. Jamal says, maybe a break the targets mode could be procedurally generated, but have certain stage parts being set to be used so that they would tailor to a character's archetype. Oh, so you're saying like, no, I don't want procedurally generated because that then defeats setting time records. As soon as you have a procedurally generated thing, that means you cannot compare your time to anybody else, or more importantly, yourself. It has to be something consistent that you can learn better techniques to overcome. If it keeps changing on you, the things that you might be trying to teach will never be taught, because who knows if you'll run into them again in the same way. Right? You're trying to create something that's very much a rote kind of like, oh, I know this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Just like when you're playing a racing game, you start learning where all the turns are so you can improve your track time, right? If you're playing a randomly generated track every single time, you can't time trial that. You can't find your best lap. You can't find anything. So you have to have it be fixed. It's the only, now, I did say there would be random elements, like did this thing block or get hit? So yeah, you could definitely lose time on that, but there'll be ways to design it so that it works, or you don't put too many of them in the same track so that if you're playing, maybe put it early in the track, because that way if you are trying to go for a really good time, you get up to it like in the first 15 seconds and then you hit it and you're like, oh, it's blocked, start, restart the trial, and you can do it. And after 15 seconds, you get there again, try it, you hit it the first time, you confirm, blow it up, and you kind of know that's the last one that's teaching. See, again, this is the power of having a human design it, right? Like if I designed it and I know how people are going to feel, if you put the random item at the very end of the course, no, like a human is smart enough to realize with good game design that they would put that thing that teaches hit confirming early in every stage so you can get it out of the way and then continue forward and play and actually try to set a time. And if it is random, you have to restart, but you're only redoing the first tiny portion of the stage over and over and over again. And if it's like a 50% chance that it's blocking or not blocking, then you have a 50% chance of having it work and you can just keep going, right? Again, you have to be smart about that. So procedurally or randomly generated stages could work if the target benchmark is not time, but percentage of proper reactions. But that's only if it's only reactions, right? Or if it's like a certain amount of fixed goals that are just put in random order. You could do that, but like I said, the problem with that is that the best result is 100%. And if you get 100%, there is no impetus for you to do better. The whole point that makes home run contest and break the targets so good is because you can always do better. Or at least you think you can do better, right? Like you're just like, oh, I had to do this and I think I could do better than that. But if you have a thing that's testing the percentage of times you had the proper action, the best score is 100%. and your other friend's best score is going to be 100%, and the other person's best score is going to be 100%. 90% of the people who do this, their best score is going to be 100%. There's no impetus to try to find a way to do it better. You know? Like, it's weird. But again, when I design a game, I am designing it very psychologically, which is why I should be making my own fucking games. Talking to David and Tubo, like they were trying to convince me to just start making my own games. And I'm getting very, very close to being convinced, to be honest with you. Because again, I'm really smart about this shit, you know? I tell people about all these things all the time about their games. Games that have come out. Games that people have played. I have told people before that they designed their game incorrectly. And they're like, how can you even say that when I'm the creator? And I was like, because the game is presented in such a way and it is like, it's supposed to feel like this. And he's like, no, I get to decide how it feels. Game came out, eventually got a major patch that made the game a lot closer to what I was saying. And when I saw that person again, I was like, hey, I thought the patch was great. And the guy just was like, you were right. I was just like, hey, the patch is good. He's like, you were right. I'm man enough to admit it. You were right. And I was like, thank you. You don't necessarily need money to design your own game. You can learn designing games on your own through like Godot and stuff like that. Eventually, you will need money and or time. But again, if you can also do the thing where you design a game part way and just be like, hey, everybody, look, this is a proof of concept. Please donate to my Kickstarter or my Indiegogo and I can make the whole game, you know, kind of things like that. So I was thinking you could share the stage upon completion. Now that I've completed the stage, best my time. You could do that. You could definitely do that. But what happens then is you run the risk of oversaturation. Because if it is procedurally generated, it's going to be fairly unique. And so what happens is you don't have, hey, I'm going to do reuse trial. Now you have like, yo, check out this Ryu trial. No, check out this one. And then like you have like 300 Ryu trials out there and you try some of them and they're just ass and some of them are just like stupid. You need to give people, you got to make sure for this kind of goal to teach people that you give them something finite is the problem. So if you were able to share, I mean, that's why all those things were like, oh, I can make my own combo trial for this game, never really takes off. Because in the end, it's just like, it just gets so bloated. And some of them are like really dumb. I mean, Super Mario Maker is the greatest example of this. Like you watch some of those guys like Carl Sagan out there who are, you know, playing those super hard trolley levels and stuff like that. And it's hilarious. And like the things that people come up with are ridiculous. But one, most people aren't going to be able to beat those stages. I remember when Super Mario Maker first came out, I had a stream where I had people submit their stage. Like I was like, I will just try your stage. And people would give me stages. And like some of the stages were just like torture. Like they were just like, I'm going to make this as hard and dumb as possible. And, you know, kind of same thing. Like, you had to do this really stupid, ridiculous execution thing for, like, 15 minutes. And then they put you into a maze where you can get locked. And you had to start the stage over again. And I was like, dude, like, this is the worst design you possibly could have made. Like, you have to, if you're going to make the stage, you have to put the maze first. And then you put the impossibly hard execution thing second. Because the maze thing can be memorized. You can get through it and then deal with this shit. But if you do the opposite direction, it's just not fun, right? Like, it's just, there's no point to this. And so, game design, I swear to God, why hasn't anybody hired me for game design yet? You have to make it so that it's finite. If you make it so that everybody can share the stage, then there's just going to be a bazillion stages out there to be shared with some QR code or whatever, and it's just impossible to kind of you're not going to perfect the one. You're not going to learn all the techniques for the one. You're going to just do it good enough and then jump to all these random ones to keep trying other ones. The point is having the one that you're trying to get good at. You know what I mean? WB Games and the way it is ruining MK is the biggest offender with fighting games. It is so bad that selling MK to EA feels like it would be an improvement. Unfortunately, game companies seem to base everything around making money down these days. Yeah. So what things in particular are you talking about for the way it ruined MK and how Tekken is going down that route as well? Just curious what you guys are referring to specifically. Anyways, to bring this whole thing back to the beginning, having lots of people to fight in ranked, good netcode is a given. But the biggest appeal of a fighting game for newer players is having lots of people to fight in ranked. And that's what I was talking about, Discord fighter struggles. Discord fighters cannot succeed. They're just not going to succeed. They can't grow because nobody can play them organically. And while, like I said, I have said that I think ranked is terrible and it's not fun and it's miserable and all this stuff and you're just watching your numbers go up and down. But again, that's me because I want to be really good, right? A lot of people just want to play and have fun and they're not as worried about it. So they're just having a good time playing fighting games, doing whatever. But even then, as a person who hates ranked, most days I would still rather just jump on ranked than try to find somebody on Discord because, you know, David and Jeremy and all these people have constantly been like, James, if you ever want matches, hit me up. I'm down to play anytime. Come hang out with us. We play over here all the time, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I sit down in the machine and I'm like, I just want to play some matches against people I don't know. I don't want to play matches against people that I know right now. I just want to play, have a good time, and have no repercussions. Like, just play, and then I'm done, and then I leave. And that's it, right? So I think Tekken is going through growing pains. The old team is getting really old and needs to retire, so it is trying to pass the game to a new team. But the new team fouled it up with Tekken 8 Season 2, so the old team has more work to do before it can retire. MK1 was released before it was ready, with several bugs due to W management interference, for example. That part I knew about. You see what WB did to that and what they did to multiverses. Although I heard WB wasn't actually to blame for multiverses, that the guy in charge of it was actually the problem, but I don't know enough to be able to judge that or say yes or no one way or the other, unfortunately. So, you know, if you're a person who legit wants to have your scene for your game grow, people are gonna have to get online on ranked and sit there. Maybe if you decide to play a one-player game, just have the other game just sitting there on ranked. Just have it sit there. You know what I mean? Looking for matches. Because that's kind of what you have to do to get more people playing the game. I had suggested this a long time ago, but even I knew how ridiculous it was and it probably wouldn't work. But like, you know, if you really want to grow your scene, like everybody who plays the game, who are in the more hardcore FGC, you know, that are all talking on Twitter, we all have to be like, look, let's all get online at least from 5 to 8, like your time. Just from 5 to 8, just be online and just sit there, right? Like, because that's, and again, it's impossible to coordinate because, you know, there might not even be enough people to make that work, honestly. But like, it's so crucial for growing a game. And that's why fighting games live or die like within the first week of the game's release. I still remember Under Night coming out, Under Night 2 Sis-Celeste, and the PC version was borked, like the matchmaking netcode was dead for like 2 days. And then it fixed it, and it was already too late. Like, people were like, yep, I'm done. It sucks. I hate how fickle everybody is with the fighting game community. But the problem is, the reason why it perpetuates even further is because then nobody's on ranked, and when nobody's on ranked, nobody plays your game anymore. Because again, 90% of the people who are playing the fighting game just want to fight a faceless person who was at their level. And that's it, right? So it's hard. Like I said, I can spout all this I want, but there's no way to actually do it, right? Like there's no way to fix it. How do you fix that? How do you fix people actually showing up and playing on ranked and having people that they can match up with? Like, how do you fix that? Like I said, you just have to have the community that is loyal to the game and really do have an interest in growing the game to just be online, whether they find matches or not, but just to be there, and hopefully that you can find somebody and be available for people of different ranks. And yes, it also has to include people who don't think they're very good at the game, because you need to be able to match up with them, with people who are lower level. Because if it's only the good players who care, then everybody who comes in, they're just going to fight other good people, and like that doesn't help. It doesn't help. Yeah, it doesn't help that Uni 2 released so closely to Tekken 8, for sure. I see, thank you for your insight, sir. If I may, could you check out my tutorial idea, Mind Games idea, when you have time, of course? It is pinned. Send me a DM again, reminding me to look at that. I'll definitely take a look. SF5's matchmaking was brutal for me. I'd actually watch shows while I'd matchmake. And then the next day, when you're like, let me do that again, you're going to be like, I don't want to do that again. And then you're just used to not playing it anymore. And that's it. You've lost the player. Right? And so, like, people have to understand, hey, what's up, Cybernetic? Thank you for the sub. Thank you for the sub. And so it's so important to have people on ranked. And I mean, again, like Tekken, Mortal Kombat, and Street Fighter tend to always have people online that you can fight. In previous Mortal Kombats, I will say, because current one, I know it's not doing as well because they also don't have crossplay and all that stuff like that, if I'm not mistaken. Do they even have a real ranked mode? I'm not even sure if they have a ranked mode. But in any case, I know MK1 is going through all sorts of trouble right now. But, you know, the games that have the most players, like Tekken, like Street Fighter, are the ones that are going to be popular, so they feed into themselves. Like was said earlier, the rich just get richer. And so that's the problem to solve, and it sucks, right? But, you know, people have said maybe fighting games, I mean, again, the different difficulty levels of the computer are pretty decent for Street Fighter, but, you know, having bots, like, even just to kind of fill in the gaps might help a little bit, but it does get annoying when you know you're fighting a bot, right? And it gets annoying, like, that happened to me a lot when I was playing Tekken. Like, every time a new season started, you would just go online and you could tell who was a bot and who wasn't a bot, you know, and it was just like, this is dumb, you know? Well, MK Legacy Collection has a completely different problem. I heard the online is just not good. And that's always going to be the issue. I mean, literally Capcom Fighting Collection 2 was like brand new. And I was like, let's queue up for some Vampire Savior. I want to learn to play Vampire Savior. For real. I jumped online and I sat there and I waited. And someone said, I just checked the Steam charts and there's like 30 people playing this game right now. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And so, like, I quit. And, like, that was it. That was the end of it, right? Like, I never queued up for Vampire Savior Ranked ever again. Because there was no point. So, as much as, you know, like I said, even I will admit that, no, we shouldn't focus on ranked modes and stuff like that. You know, that's my advice to people who are actively trying to get stronger at the game. But I understand for that a lot of other people that would like to get better, but that's not their goal, that they're just trying to have fun. They're not looking for finding that other person that they can train with constantly over and over again. They're just like everybody said, I just got home from work. I'm tired. I just want to sit down and play. I just want to shut off my brain and play and have a good time. You know, that's why having the one-player stuff there is important as well, because sometimes you're just like, I really just don't feel like dealing with online assholes right now, so I'm just going to play World Tour, you know, and stuff like that. So, Yeah, no, Fightcade is 100% the best way to learn Vampire Savior. It's the best way to learn most of those games. And Fightcade does kind of have its own ranking system, does it? Or not? I can't remember now. No, first impressions are everything. That's basically what I was saying. First impressions are super, super important. And that's what happened with Under Night. The netcode wasn't good, and that was it. The first impression was ruined for a lot of people. It drives me nuts because everything everybody says they want out of a fighting game is Under Night, right? You should have more defensive options, tons of defensive options. Really varied characters, lots of varied characters. Crazy mechanics that do crazy mechanics. A really good system. Grid system is like one of the best fighting game systems that exist, right? Under Night is just so nicely balanced within itself and how everything works, and it's just really smart. And not enough people play it. Everybody who actually like loves fighting games and wants stuff that's more complicated, who learn Under Night, end up falling in love with that game. Like there's so few times where I've seen like a good fighting game player pick up Under Night and just be like, I don't like this. Like almost every time they're like, holy shit, why is this so good? I'm addicted. Yeah, no, City of the Wolves. Yes, absolutely. Multiple terrible first impressions. One of which is just the visuals. I think the game looks good, but it's still not. I had this whole conversation with people online because I was like, look, the game looks good, but like it's lacking something, right? It's lacking something. I mean, the real life guessings for sure was a problem, right? Like, I swear to God, Ronaldo did the exact opposite to what they wanted Ronaldo to do. They're like, we could get a bunch of people playing Ronaldo. They put it in there, and I saw so many people tweeting that they just canceled their pre-order. Like, it sucks, right? Like, you're just like, God damn it. Oh, man. So, like, it was just kind of annoying to have to deal with that.